A really good option if you're on a budget can be to use the outsourcing site Fiverr. And Fiverr is spelt with an extra R. That's not a misspelling on the screen that you're seeing there. It's fiverr.com. I've used Fiverr for years and I've used it for very many different things. Fiverr is what's called an outsourcing site. And basically what you can do is you can get digital jobs done for $5. Now, let me explain about that. $5 is the basic price. There are often add-ons included. And when I talk you through one of my own recent projects, you'll see actually that it's often worth paying for the add-ons because you get a little bit more for your money with that. But the basic job is priced at $5, which if you're watching this in the UK is about $3.50, $3.75 depending on the exchange rate. So it's not very much money at all. And you can get a lot for your money because you're dealing with outsourcers around the world. And you get more bang for your buck basically when you use Fiverr. And let me show you the covers I've had made on Fiverr. These are the most recent covers that I've had made on Fiverr. And as a result of my podcast interview, I get to talk to an awful lot of self-published authors. And one of the great things about that is they pass me on all sorts of tips about the people that they're using, the freelancers that they're using. And this was as a result of an interview with an author called Adam Nichols. I said, where are you getting those covers from? Because they're really nice. And it turned out he was getting them from this designer on Fiverr. I was astounded at the price that he was paying to get some really nice covers made. And as I'm trying to release faster and try and break that link between very expensive covers and having to find the money to get the covers and the editing, I just wanted to try this designer and see how it went. And I'm actually quite happy with those designs. I'm really happy with those. And now they didn't cost me a $5 because I paid for some extras. They cost me about $47, $48 in all, which is what, 20 something pounds probably. So not a lot of money compared to what I have paid, and what you'll see in later videos, you'll see what I have paid when I've gone for bespoke covers. So let me just show you some other things that I've done on Fiverr. Those covers were not designed on Fiverr, but the 3D box set was made on Fiverr. So each of those box sets cost me $5. And bearing in mind that I paid a lot of money to get those covers created, so I sent the images of the covers and that designer created the 3D box sets for me for $5. Now, I don't know about you, I was very, very happy with that for $5. There's no way I could do that myself, and I really think they look great. I'm very happy with those 3D images, and that was done on Fiverr as well. This was just a cheap image on Fiverr that I wanted. I was giving something away on my website. It was a leads capture. It was getting people's email addresses, and I think I sent the picture of the files, if I remember rightly, and then the designer just made me that 3D image. Again, just a $5 job, which was fantastic. And then this is probably the job that I wasn't happy with on Fiverr. Now, let's be clear about this. When you're dealing with people on Fiverr, sometimes you're dealing with different languages, people for whom English is not the first language. And sometimes things get lost in translation. And sometimes, frankly, it's my fault because I didn't explain things clearly enough. Now, let me tell you about my policy on Fiverr. If I'm paying people from different economies $5 to do a job, I am not going to screw them into the ground until I get some work of art or piece of perfection. I think that is the way to get a bad relationship with a freelancer. So with these books, I mean, they're not terrible. I couldn't do that, but they weren't actually what I was after, really. And so sometimes I just let it go. Sometimes I pay my Fiverr, I give good feedback, and I put it down to experience. And what I would recommend on Fiverr is, don't be really sniffy about this stuff. Just when you've got your money's worth, when somebody's put the effort in, just if it didn't work, then just say, do you know what? I've paid my $5. I've had $5 worth of work. Let it go. Find another contractor. Sometimes it's my fault because I didn't describe the job properly. In this case, I didn't really describe the job properly. I don't think I didn't realise I was speaking to somebody for whom English was not their first language. And I just let it go. There's nothing wrong with that. What's been designed, it's certainly $5 worth, that's for sure. It would have taken me a lot more than $5 worth of work to produce anything that looked like that. But it wasn't what I wanted, so I walked away in that case. Let's head over to my Fiverr account now, and I'll talk you through it and show you how it works. Here is my Fiverr account, and this is the most recent job I've had done. So I got those 3 thriller covers done for $47.50. So if you have a look at this, the basic cover offer was $5 per cover, but I got some extras in there. Now, if you can see here, for my $5, I get unlimited revisions, which is a heck of an offer. So unlimited revisions is where you say, no, I'm not quite happy with that, will you change it? I'm not happy with that, will you change it? And let me tell you, unlimited revisions for a designer is a real pain, because if you get a difficult customer, they're just going to keep coming back and sort of screwing you into the ground for your $5. So even though I get unlimited revisions, I always try and play fair with the designer. I maybe would go to 2, 3 maximum, and then I'd say, do you know what? That's fair enough now. I think I need to either pay for another job, or I need to be making it worth this designer's while. This designer gave me the 3D cover images. So you saw those on the side. Those lovely images were done as part of the $5. And then I'm free for commercial use. So this designer would have got images for me that were free for commercial use. Now, here's what I paid the money for, the extra $15 per book. I get the source files. I always get source files when I get graphics done. Now, source files mean that they are editable files. When you just get an image left, you can't do it. You can't change the text. I always get editable files, so that if I want to change the catch line, or I want to change something on the cover that's just text, I can easily do that without having to go back to the designer. So for me, because I've got basic Photoshop skills, not design skills I hasten to add, just very basic Photoshop skills, I always get the source file, because it means I can adapt the book covers in the future. I've got the basic skills to do that. So the cost of that job to me was $47.50. Now, if I just talk you through the process here, I'm very, very sensitive about copyright issues. I do not want to pay for a job on Fiverr and find that I've got unlicensed images. So I tend to be proactive with this. I tend to buy the images, make sure I've got the copyrights for them, and I provide the contractor with the images. That's just something I'm fussy about, because I don't want it to come back and bite me. I don't want to find that I've used something like Getty Images and not known that, and then find that Getty Images are trying to charge me for the use of, or the unlicensed use of, images. So I would suggest that you get really pernickety about this and always make sure you've got the licensing rights for a particular image. So you'll see here that this is my description to the contractor, and I am very, very specific about what I want. So for this book, I've given the title, my author name, the strap line, and the series information. It always helps to be specific. Don't let contractors try and read your mind. It will never work. Be specific about what you want. Talk to them about the wording, the specific wording. I always think it's better to get the images that you want, if you can take the time to get the images. And you'll see here, I've even gone so far as to send my mock-ups. I've created mock-ups which are not very good, because I'm not a designer, and I've also sent examples of what I'm after. So I want my books to look like Mark Edwards' books, so I've sent pictures of Mark Edwards' books and said that's the look, and it's called look and feel. That's the look and feel that I'm after in my books. So I was very, very specific with that order. So the order gets started. I get my first covers, and the first covers were pretty good. In actual fact, I was very happy with these 2 covers, but for some reason the designer had colorized this from the original image. She'd colorized that, and I didn't want it colorized. I wanted it the same cover. So I then put a revision in, and just here, these are my revisions, my first set of revisions, and then the designer does the next set of revisions, and at this point, can you see that the covers come back right in terms of the text, but the colorization is still there? And at that point, that's where I make the decision, do you know what, I've had my $5 worth here. And this is why I get the source files. She's going to give me the source files, so I've got the skills to make that correction and lose that colorization. I'm not going to screw this contractor into the ground. I'm only paying her a $5 per cover. So at that point, I thought, quite clearly, I'm not making myself understood here. So I will take the file from that and I will adapt it myself. And this is sometimes what you've got to do. Now, if I was paying somebody £300 to do a cover, and I had unlimited revisions, I would make them go back and back and back until it was absolutely right. But on Fiverr, I think you've got to play fair. So I then accepted those layouts in that job, and I always give, unless I've had a terrible experience, I don't think I ever have had a terrible experience on Fiverr. I think the only bad experience I had was when somebody, I think, had just wasn't doing the work anymore, and the money was kept by Fiverr, and they just refunded it to me. So I usually have good experiences on Fiverr, and then you can see I give them a good review because they live or die on reviews. And the other thing I do is I always say to myself, what was the value of that work? I don't care whether the bottom line is just $5. I like to tip people. And the reason I tip people is if I'm going to work with that person again, I am going to work with this person again because you did a great job. I want them to feel good about working with me. I don't want them to think, oh, it's Paul with another job, he's going to screw me into the ground and I'm going to make no profit from this deal. So I always want freelancers to feel good about working with me. I want them to feel well rewarded because when a job comes in from me, I want them to feel good about it, not bad about it. And this is just how I've found, in all walks of life, this is how you get a good job done. Don't screw people into the ground. So I also then sent a $15 tip. Now, if you look at that, what was that, $60-something? That job was about £40-something to me. Could I do that in my own time? No, I couldn't. Do I have the skills to do it? No, I don't have the skills to do it. And if I got those book covers paid for professionally, as you'll see in later videos, it would have cost me £1,200 to do that. £1,200. Difference between that and 45 quid, say. I felt that was well worth the value. So I made sure I rewarded the contractor because I'm coming back to it later to get some more covers done. So that's how Fiverr works. It doesn't just work for covers, by the way. I've had all sorts of bizarre jobs done. If you have a look at my history on Fiverr, I've been using it for a long time. If I go into my orders here, take a look, you'll see my orders go a long time back. Look, from 2012. Oh, I've been using it for years. Look, since 2010 I've been using it. And I've done all sorts of jobs on here. Probably the most bizarre job I've had done is, where is it? I've had, there it is, Chinese translations. I've had Chinese translations done of promos for my secret bunker books simply because I have a Chinese location in the books, and I just decided to put 3 blog pages up in Chinese just to see whether it worked, and it cost me $26 to do it. So you can really get some fantastic things done. I get all the voiceovers for my podcast done on Fiverr. I've got the logo done on Fiverr. I get all my box sets done on Fiverr. It really is a great resource, and I would encourage you to use it, if not for your covers, then for other jobs that you might do in your self-publishing career.